Hello, my name is Muna Jones. Today we are looking at advocacy in mental health nursing. Definition of terms. 1. Advocacy. Advocacy is acting on behalf of the client's best interests. It includes providing support, feedback and resources that are necessary to make a decision. Advocacy consists of various actions aimed at changing the major structural and attitudinal barriers to achieving positive mental health outcomes in populations. 2. Stigma. Is something about a person that causes him or her to be deeply compromised in his or her social standing, a mark of shame or discredit. Many persons with serious mental disorders appear to be different because of their symptoms or the side effects of their medications. People notice these differences, feel uncomfortable about the persons affected, and act in a negative way towards them. This worsens the symptoms and disability in persons with mental illness. 3. Discrimination. To treat a person or a particular group of people differently, especially in a worse way from the way in which you treat other people because of their mental illness, disability. 4. Consumer. Is a person with a mental disorder who has been a recipient of mental health services. Same as user. 5. NGO, non-governmental organization. Non-profit, voluntary or charitable organization that carry out advocacy activities and provides various mental health interventions including promotion, prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation. 6. Participation. When you take part or become involved in something. 7. Partnerships. The state of being closely involved with a person or organization in some way. 8. Collaboration. When two or more people work together to create or achieve the same thing. Cambridge University Press, 2005. 9. Stakeholders. 10. Networking. 11. Human rights. Importance of advocacy. 1. Advocacy is especially important for people with mental health disabilities because they are more often than not unable to make the best decision on their own. 2. Advocacy can be used to promote the human rights of persons with mental disorders and to reduce stigma and discrimination. 3. Advocacy is an important means of raising awareness of mental health issues and ensuring that mental health is on the national agenda of governments. 4. Advocacy can lead to improvements in policy, legislation, and service development. 5. For community nursing to be effective, advocacy is part of the rules that are followed. Barriers to mental health. Advocacy has developed in response to several global barriers to mental health. Psychiatric nursing interventions are directed at these barriers. The barriers are: A. Lack of mental health services. B. Poor quality of care in mental hospital and other psychiatric facilities. C. Absence of alternative services, psychotherapy, occupational therapy. D. Violation of human rights. E. Lack of housing and employment. F. Stigma associated with mental illness resulting in exclusion. G. Absence of programs for the promotion of mental health and the prevention of mental illness. H. Lack or insufficient implementation of mental health policies, plan, programs and legislation. Roles of a nurse in advocacy. 1. Clinical work. 2. Participation in the activities of consumers and family groups. 3. Supporting in the formation and development of consumer groups by planning and evaluating programs together with consumers and families. Advocacy actions. Awareness raising. Information. Education. Training. Mutual help. Counseling. Mediating. Defending. Denouncing. Targets for advocacy. Advocacy is directed towards consumers, families, and communities, governments, policymakers, ministries, NGOs, generic and mental health workers. Ethical principles for effective advocacy. For advocacy to be effective, the following rules are followed. 1. Act in the client's, group's, community's best interests in the case of ethical conflicts. 2. Act in accordance with the client's wishes and instructions. This means that you put the client in charge, working hand in hand. E.g., this is what I think we can do, what do you want me to do? Refuse to do anything where self or others can be harmed. 3. Keep the client properly informed. This will empower clients to make knowledgeable decisions. 4. Carry out instructions with diligence and competence, thereby maintaining high standards of practice. 5. Act impartially and offer frank, independent advice. This will enable you address fairness and respect for persons. 6. Maintain client confidentially. Only share information entrusted to you if there is need for others to know it. Skills of a psychiatric nurse as an advocator. The following skills are used within the context of the 6 principles. They include 1. Interviewing. 2. Assertiveness and force. 3. Negotiation. 4. Self-management. 5. Legal knowledge, such as rights of persons with mental illness, and research. 6. Litigation, resort to the courts to determine a legal question or matter. Mental Health Services Bill. 2006. Part 8 VE, Fundamental Freedoms and Rights of Persons with Mental Illness. 21. Mental health service users are entitled to all human rights enshrined in A. The United Nations Bill of Rights. B. Part 3 of the Zambia Constitution. C. And all international human rights instruments to which Zambia is a party except as such rights are limited in this Act. Principles for the Protection of Persons with Mental Illness and the Improvement of Mental Health Care. Principle 1. Fundamental Freedom and Basic Rights. 22. All persons have the right to the best available mental health care, which shall be part of the health and social care system. 23. All persons with a mental illness or who are being treated as such persons shall be treated with humanity and respect for the inherent dignity of the human person. 24. All persons with a mental illness or who are being treated as such persons have the right to protection from economic, sexual and other forms of exploitation, physical or other abuse and degrading treatment. 25. There shall be no discrimination on the grounds of mental illness. 26. Every person with a mental illness shall have the right to exercise all rights under the United Nations Bill of Rights. Principle 13 of Principle for the Protection of Persons with Mental Illness and the Improvement of Mental Health Care. Part 3 of the Zambian Constitution and African Charter on Human and People's Rights, 1981. 27. Any decision that, by reason of his or her mental illness, a person lacks legal capacity, and any decision that, in consequence of such incapacity, a personal representative shall be appointed, shall be made only after a fair hearing by an independent and impartial board established by domestic law. 28. Where a court or other competent board finds that a person with mental illness is unable to manage his or her own affairs, measures shall be taken, so far as is necessary and appropriate to that person's condition, to ensure the protection of his or her interest. 29. Pronouncements meant to ridicule or embarrass a user shall constitute an offense. 30. Special care should be given within the purposes of this bill and within the context of domestic law relating to the protection of minors, women and aged to protect the rights of minors, women and the aged including, if necessary, the appointment of a personal representative other than a family member, preferably a social worker. Thanks for listening, kindly subscribe to the channel and keep studying.